Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Gareth from Simple Studios, the only game studio dedicated to your success. And in this episode, we're going to be making some art, we're going to be making some new enemies, and we're going to be making an animation component. Let's get into it. And on the plan here, we've got some art. You guys could probably tell what I was thinking, well, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I don't think I was thinking when I was making the references, but hey, you know what? I think it looks good. Obviously, you guys are going to be the judge, though, and again, as you can see here, we've got a basic enemy, we've got a fast enemy, and we've got our charger enemy, which he's my favorite guy. And then we also need a little bit of coding for the new enemy because he behaves a little bit different. He's quite quirky, so that was very fun to make. Let me tell you, it doesn't really work, but you'll see it in a little bit, and then we'll cover this next episode, but we're actually going to go over polishing it and making sure it actually functions the way it's supposed to, instead of not. Alright guys, and before we begin, we gotta go over what tools we're gonna be using. So obviously, first up, ChatGPT, it's a staple. You love it, I love it, I think it's great, you should use it, everyone should use it. Next up, we got GIMP. It's just a better Photoshop, nothing else to say there. If you're using Photoshop, just stop, save the $5,000 a month and just use GIMP. It's free, it's amazing, I love them, you should love them too. And GIMP developers, if you're watching, you did an amazing job, keep going. And you know, with my GIMP shilling out of the way, next up, obviously, we got creativity. You can't do anything in life without creativity, so games are no different. Everyone should make games. Even if there are people who are more creative than you, you should take a stab at it anyway, because it's subjective, and what someone else might hate, someone else might love. And as long as you're changing at least one person's day, that's all that matters. And then finally, good music, of course. I've got the best taste in music. You guys know that already. But if you guys want my super awesome playlist, let me know, and I'll share a few tracks. And yeah, let's get into drawing these first enemies out. Alrighty, and first up here we have the basic enemy. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really know what to do with this one, so I just went with a stickman, mainly because they're very basic, and I believe everybody knows what it is. It's not supposed to be, like, anything crazy artistic, it's just supposed to be there. It's like a permanent placeholder kind of thing. Hopefully I can get an artist, but at this point I think that leaving all of the assets in the way I draw them is great, because this game isn't very serious. I don't expect it to really go anywhere aside from just being a huge meme for a lot of people, and that's kind of what I want. So I think we're going to keep this little stickman guy the way he is, even though I would like to change it. I think it fits the game better the way it is, and he's just got a stupid little walk cycle, just a few frames, nothing too crazy, and then his hit animation is just him rotating while having squinty eyes, nothing too crazy there. But my real favorite is the charger enemy, which we will get into very soon. Alrighty, now the charger enemy did take a lot of work, you guys could probably tell. This was maybe even the only enemy that I'm going to be putting effort in the entire game. I don't really know yet, but this guy was a lot of fun to make because I really like the meme with the screaming ball. You know what I mean, LFG. I really love that meme. It's an awesome thing, and I just think it fit really well with the charger, because the charger, I mean, they're trying to run at you, and so I'm thinking of having him scream, "Let's go," when he's running at you, because, you know, that's what the meme is based off of. And, I mean, I didn't really do the animation really that well, but, I mean, hey, I'm not an artist. But essentially what I wanted to happen is he would be there, and then he would start opening up his mouth, and then get gradually more and more angry slash, what's the word I'm looking for? More angry slash motivated to try and kill you, I guess. And then once he reaches that final peak, he runs at you. You know, he runs from halfway across the screen and tries to run you over. Maybe he hits you, maybe he doesn't, but anyway, it was a lot of fun to make this, and again, maybe I can get an actual person to make something a little better, but until now, this is the guy that we got. His walking stage is his walking animation is pretty simple. It's just him rocking back and forth. His animation is going to be slower because I do want him to be slower, unless he's running. And then his hurt animation, much like everyone else, it's just some squinty eyes and him rolling backwards. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's dive into the final enemy that we're going to be making today, the fast enemy. And you guys already know I had to pick Sanic to be this fast enemy, alright? It just fits too well. I mean, it's already a meme itself. It's not even supposed to be anything, right? It's just an MS Paint drawing, so me coming in and making this MS Paint drawing somehow even worse, I think fits the game perfectly. Again, maybe I can get someone to draw it a little bit better than I can, but I'm not really keeping my hopes up. And I do kind of want to keep it a little on the crappy side, because this is going to be a shit post. But anyway, the inspiration's there. It was very easy to make, I think. Super simple hit, hurt animation, that's about all. And then moving into the game, though, here's where things get a little interesting. Alrighty, so here we are with our game now. It's super awesome. It's looking a lot better than it was on day one, mainly because we actually have movement for the enemies now, so you can see the enemies that are not just red squares anymore, and that's amazing. So the animation component, it's pretty simple, but a little complex for the charger enemy, but we will get into that. So for now, the animation component, it takes in a list of sprites, which is like walking frame 1, walking frame 2, walking frame 3, and it has a delay. It does have a hit sprite thing, but we'll get to that shortly. But essentially what it does is it takes the sprite renderer of the object it's on and cycles through the list of sprites that you have at the delay. So if the delay is 1.5 seconds, then walking frame 1 will stay there for 1.5 seconds. Then after those 1.5 seconds, it goes to walking cycle 2. Then after that, it goes to walking cycle 3. After that, cycle 4, cycle 5, and you get the idea. And it just keeps going over and over and over again. It loops through. But the interesting is that when an enemy is hit, it triggers the hurt animation, which cycles through all of the animation sprites once, and then it goes back to the walking cycle or the main animation frames. And while this was certainly super straightforward in my head, actually putting it into code was a little tricky. I mean, we did get it to work, but before that, when the enemies were hit, they just got stuck in their hurt animation, and that was that. They couldn't go back to walking; they were just permanently crippled. And it was it's okay, but I wanted them to kind of go back to their walking animations just to make them feel a little bit more lively and, not as poorly put together. And now last up is the charger enemy. So like I said before, this guy, he's pretty quirky, alright? He works a little bit differently than the other enemies because, he's a charger. And so, by extension, his animation component was also a little funky. So essentially what happens is he has the normal walking sprites and the hurt sprites like everyone else, but he has two separate areas for sprites. One of them is a charge up sprite animation, and the other is a during charge sprite. While he's charging, his sprite stays the same. I'm not going to animate him charging. I'm sorry, I just don't really have the skill for that. But then once he gets into his charging range, he stops walking, he stops moving towards you, or he's supposed to stop moving towards you. We'll see when we test the game. But he stops moving towards you, charges up, so in this case he opens up his mouth and then gets ready to run at you. And so again, it didn't really work as intended, but the concept is there, the idea is in my head, and hopefully you guys can also picture it in your heads too. But yeah, so that's his little thing, and the way it works is he essentially has a large circle around him, and whenever the player enters this circle, he stops because the player's inside of the circle, and he charges up. After the charge is finished, he dashes in the direction that he has picked, basically. So while he's charging, you can run around in the circle and he will still track your position, but as soon as he starts charging, he no longer tracks your position, so you can just move out of the way, you can dash, or I mean, you could probably just stand in his way and shoot an arrow at him. It's up to you, honestly, but that's how it works. I may change it a little bit later, especially for harder difficulties. Maybe I'll have like a charger that changes midway, so you have to always keep moving. Like he'll charge halfway, and then at that halfway point he'll redirect and run at you. I don't really know yet, but that's how he works right now. You can see the gameplay here. It's awesome. It's cool. It's getting better, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the animations. And that wraps it up for this episode, guys. I wanted to keep it really short here because I do want to keep these videos brief but informative. So let me know if you guys learned a couple things. Let me know if you guys like seeing my awful art. And let me know if you're excited for next episode, which we will be covering a couple new weapons and fixing the charger so that he actually functions. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, I hope to see you in the next episode.